Get her a slow, she's fucking winning this. She's in, Bobby. Come on, Rachel.
My name is Adrian Ellis, and my son George spent 6 years serving with the Yorkshire Regiment, 1 Yorks. But in April 2021, our family's life was turned upside down when George took his own life. Since that devastating experience, I've campaigned to raise awareness around suicide in young people and helped set up a talking group that support veterans struggling with mental health issues. This is my story. George decided he wanted to join the army. Now, at the time, the war in Afghanistan was still going on, and Carol and I really sort of didn't want him to join the army, but it was the right thing for George to do. And the proudest day of my life when we went to see him pass out at the Army Foundation College, and he had a great career. He would have been a corporal because his colleagues that we spoke to in the last 3 years said he was just an amazing soldier. He was the guy who would lift them when they were down.
So he served for 6 years, and why did he decide to leave?
He said to me that the army's changed. I wish he'd stayed in, because when George came out the army, he struggled, because in the army, you're told when to eat, when to go to the doctors, when to go to the dentist. Now, in civilian life, you've got to make decisions yourself. And it was a culture shock. But then he met Katie, and for just over a year, this incredible relationship blossomed and blossomed. And it was a different George. He was, as far as I am aware, the happiest he'd ever been in his life. Friday the 30th of April 2021 was a normal day for us. And throughout that day, George was messaging me. I'd won a competition at work, and I'd sent him a picture, and he said, "Best looking dad there is," and all this kind of stuff. And it was just normal. And at 8:31, I got a message from George saying, "Dad, where's the tablets? I'm going to kill myself. I'm sorry, and I love you." We tried to get hold of George, and he never answered. And I had this awful feeling that he'd gone. We got to Hull Royal, and we were taken into this little room. And as we opened the door, there's the table, the tissues. We both sat down. The door opens, and the doctor consultant and a nurse walked in, and they said, "Look, there's no other way to put it, but George has died." They took us to where this room was, and George he was lying there as though he was asleep. He'd had too much to drink, and Mum had to sit with him while he woke up. But he didn't wake up, and he was just laid there. And we sat, and we held his hand, and we kissed his forehead and said, "Why, George, why?" After we'd lost George, I was beating myself up. And I suppose it was some kind of like survivor's guilt, because why has my son done this? What was so bad for him to take his own life? Why couldn't he reach out? What did I miss? And somebody once said to me, it gets easier with time. My answer to that would be, grief never goes away. And you'll have good days and bad days, and then it just hits you like a bolt.
Shortly after George's death, Paul Matson from Hull for Heroes contacted Adrian with an idea. He wanted to set up a military men's talking group that would allow veterans to meet and share their experiences and problems. Soon after, GEO was born. GEO didn't just stand for Get Emotions Out, it was George Ellis's nickname too.
In November 2021, the first GEO was opened up at the Hull for Heroes office on Whitefrigate, and it was the time when the Afghanistan war was coming to a conclusion. There was lots of military people, and they didn't know where to turn. And they've all said this to us when they've come to GEO, is that they go to a doctor's and the doctor doesn't know how to treat them. But they felt at home in this GEO environment because the guy who they sat with, left or right, their forces.
What kind of feedback have you had, Adrian?
We have had people come to Geo with a plan to end their life, and they've come back the next week and they've said, we've torn that plan up because we can express our feelings, we can talk, and the people in the room, they understand. And that's so powerful.
Must give you a great sense of pride to hear that, and how the project, which is named after George, is affecting people's lives so positively.
I couldn't save George, okay? But George's legacy will always live on as long as I'm alive, in the fact of promoting mental health, especially in veterans. And I'm incredibly proud that Geo was set up in George's name. George's death was tragic, and whilst it was the worst thing on earth, I needed to tell the story, because I can't bring him back. I wish I could. But what we can do is we can highlight suicide and suicide awareness and help others.
Why is it so much of a bigger issue with men than it is women?
Because we don't talk. Men don't talk. Us men, whether it's the macho, I'm Mr. I am, I can't talk in front of my friend. But if we talked about situations, we could share problems and share issues. Showing signs of emotion isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength.
If you could have one last conversation with George, Adrian, what would you say to him?
Why? Why did you do what you did? Why didn't you reach out? If you couldn't talk to me, talk to one of your friends. If you could see the tears that have been shed, the heartache that we go through on a daily basis, it's an effort at times to get up. He would never have done what he did. And I think George paid the ultimate because he didn't talk.
If George was looking down now and he could see what you'd achieved in his name, what do you think he'd think?
I hope that he'll be very proud of what we've done since his death. We've raised probably over £30,000 for Hull for Heroes in the different activities that we've done, and everything that we do is in George's name. So, I would hope that he will be very proud of us.
Now, the Veterans Foundation has given £100,000 to Hull for Heroes, and that money has been crucial in helping the charity to deliver things like Geo and the Lisa projects. How important are organisations like the Veterans Foundation to charities like Hull for Heroes?
Hull for Heroes is a small charity. It doesn't receive lots of money from government like some of the other charities are. So the Veterans Foundation is really, really important for the survival of Hull for Heroes. My message to anybody who plays the Veterans Lottery would be to say, first of all, thank you, because that money is so important in being able to be distributed to the smaller charities throughout the UK. So thank you very much. If you want to support charities like Hull for Heroes and help prevent the deaths of veterans like my son George, then please play the Veterans Lottery.